if you want food, you're gonna eat like chicken fingers or pizza
Yeah.
at midnight, and that just doesn't. I'm not into I'm not into sleeping on that kind of full belly at this point in my life. But when I was younger, it was great. I was,
Oh yeah.
of course.
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm 32 and or I'll be 32 in a couple of weeks and it's just like I can't imagine eating that heavy of food at like midnight, just
No, it'll sneak up on you too.
yeah.
You'll one day you'll think you can do it again, and then you'll do it again, and you'll be like, "What the fuck was I thinking?"
Yeah. I was actually just watching the special. I'm about halfway through, and you're a very funny guy. I knew obviously from the beginning. I know who you are. I only talk to people I know. But you are a very funny person. You've got a lot of great single lines that you just say kind of offhandedly, and truly, I enjoy your special a lot.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to come up with it?
It was probably longer than like the last two albums because I feel like this was all the stuff that because I my last album, which was not a special, it was just like I mean, I put out video of it, but it was like GoPros that were in the room when we
Mhm.
recorded. It was recorded the November before um the pandemic. And then so I put that out and it came out in like no, it was recorded in November. It came out like a month before everything shut down.
Mm.
And then I was just kind of like a lot of momentum had just, dissipated.
Yeah.
So I was in kind of like a weird spot mentally. And it took me a while to get back to like when things started opening up to performing live again, to writing stuff, and then to like, getting rid of the stuff that was like of the time, too of the time,
Yeah.
like too many pandemic related references and things.
Yeah.
So it took me a good 4 years to like piece everything together, and then you know between that and between adding the visuals and figuring out what worked and is it worth it to do it like this, and all that stuff. So yeah, probably like 4 years.
Wow. I mean, it's truly watching it is I assume listening to it's going to be a whole different thing, but watching it is a treat in of itself because you have that front facing camera going to the stage, and then right when we turn and we're able to see the screen, the audience is able to see the screen where you show illustrations. I think that is just a perfect way to capture an audience's attention because it makes it feel like it's a TED Talk, like you are in for something that's more than stand up. And I think that's a great way to approach kind of in an older medium where people can get lost in telling jokes. So I commend you for that.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm in a pretty visual person, and I have a an art background, and I work in animation like during the day.
Hmm.
um so it was one of those where I was like, I kind of always wanted to find a way to combine all that.
Hmm.
And at this point in my, I'm not like super well known. It's not like people are expecting a specific thing from me. So it was like, all right, this is the time to, experiment. And like, we're in this place where like I didn't think anybody would buy it. Like we tried like two or three outlets that, typically acquire stand-up specials, and they both, one said no and the other one offered me like so little money. I was like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just put it on YouTube. There's nobody's expecting anything, nobody's got any rules. So add the visuals, do it how I would do, make a show that I would want to see. And that, in addition to that, people are on their phones looking at and listening to things at the same time. So
Right.
bringing that into a live space, I think, makes sense if you can do it and it's fun for you, which
Mhm.
it was for me.
Yeah. There you are, I think, one of two, excuse me, one of three comedians that I've seen utilize a screen on stage. And like I'm right now, I'm thinking of James Veach, who does an excellent job with uh, attacking more or less people who spam his emails or phone calls. And then there's another guy who was tricking like senators and everything into,
Oh, Ben Palmer.
yeah, Ben Palmer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
That's amazing. Like all of you, all three of you are the only ones who are able to do that. And if someone else is doing it, and I've never heard of them because it's I've I can see this and it works and it does it well. I'll relate this back to crowd work. When I see so many comedians doing crowd work, and I'd say probably like 30% of them are actually good at it. And they can make something out of it. And now you're digging out yourself in this niche that really fits well, and you can really make a name for yourself. That sounds like the douchiest thing, but you can really make something of yourself when it comes to that. And yeah, and the animation's great. The drawings are fantastic. They're so funny. It's stuff that I could see in a comic book if you did a bunch of like a book with non sequiturs, and those would definitely work.
Thanks, man. That's a good idea. I might
Go ahead.
might go revisit my literary roots. Uh or my book agent who probably has forgotten who I am at this point. Um but yeah, I've seen a lot of slideshow stuff, and it in New York, I know there's even like there's like a slideshow presentation comedy kind of festival thing. Um and it's obviously, it seems to be a little more like younger audiences are embracing it quite a bit more, or younger comics, I should say.
Okay.
And I've had people come up to me after shows and be like, "Hey, thanks for the PowerPoint too. Like as a young millennial, it feels very appropriate." And I'm like, I didn't even think about that. I'm just like, I'm trying to bridge the gap between the thing I'm describing and what I'm picturing in my head to make it that much easier for an audience to be exactly where I'm at mentally.
Hmm.
And and to find the audience too that responds to draw silly little drawings along with the jokes, because I mean, jokes are great. People that can write an hour of jokes and do straight up stand up is incredibly impressive, and it's hard. And
Mhm.
I know that because I've tried to do it.
Yeah.
And it, when it works, it works. But just trying that different stuff and adding your own flavor to the way you want to do things, I think is I'm just glad that we're in a time where that's accessible.
Yeah, I'll make it akin to relate it to sort of like when you listen to a new band or something and they're doing something with a guitar or with the 808 beat that you've never heard before and you go, this is music, finally, something new. For the animation part, I went to your website and I saw all the animation stuff. How long had you been doing that? How long have you been into just drawing and making stuff move?
Well, drawing wise, it's been, I mean, since I was a kid, I've been a doodler. Um, I went, I haven't had any major formal training, but I was a caricature artist at an amusement park called Dorney Park in Allentown, Pennsylvania, when I was in high school, like senior year. And then did that for like, I think 2 summers, and then joined the military and kind of didn't really draw as much or work that part of my brain, but then decided to go to school for film when I got out, and got a little more you know back into that mindset of drawing, doing storyboards and other things for film projects. And animation at that time was, it was accessible and you could do it digitally, but it was still incredibly tedious and difficult, and I just kind of lost interest. Fast forward a couple of years, I've been doing stand up and shooting videos and whatever, but not a lot of drawing or animation because of the difficulty level and my lack of patience. But then when the like right before the pandemic hit, I had gotten back into it because of an Adobe program called Character Animator, which basically took out a lot of the tedium and made it. And you could make a puppet and make the puppet move with your webcam and make the mouth move with the microphone. That's the short version of it. And I made a couple little shorts like that, and I was like, oh, I think this is something I could use. And then lockdown happened, live shows canceled, etc. I'm like, well, I'm sitting inside all day, and I have the time now to sit and learn how to animate for real. And I did that, and then ended up getting work through other connections. For the comedy record label I'm with, hired me to do some shorts for some of their clients. 800 Pound Gorilla hired me to do some shorts. Then I ended up doing shorts for the Drew Barrymore show through a
Wow.
connection I had at Viacom when I worked there. Um, so it all just kind of came together, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing the animation stuff, and I was like, okay, maybe I found this, path, because stand up club comic type stuff, road stuff. It was fun.
Mhm.
It wasn't going the way I wanted it to.
Right.
I'm like, I enjoy this animation thing. I'm still working with comics. I'm still getting out at night. Let's lean into it. And that's kind of, so it's been, 5, 6 years, something like that, since I've been doing it with any real discipline or practice, I guess, and getting paid to do it.
Yeah. The getting paid is the real like the real turnabout for me when it comes to things.
Yeah,
I messed around with the Adobe Animator because I use the cloud, all that stuff. It's the easiest for me, and I don't want to do anything else. Just pay the however much and then go. Uh, it,
exactly.
it was so difficult. Like I used it years ago, and I haven't touched it since. But it was just like it was so difficult at that point. And but I love the idea that they had one tool where you can plug in your mic and you could just talk and the mouth would just move. And I'm sure they still
Yep.
have it. And I
Yep.
love it. Like that was fantastic. And then you use the keyboard to move the character, or like you said, use the webcam. And
Hmm.
that was so fantastic. But I wish at that point, this is before the pandemic. I wish I used that time during when we were all inside to learn how to use the updated version of the animator better, the animated characters better, because I'm sure it's like gotten so much more robust and everything, especially with they have these new AI tools inside Premiere that I'm not a huge
Hmm.
fan of. But if it can make animating just a little bit simpler, then boy howdy, I'll start using it on whatever I need to for this dumb website.
The character animator opened up a lot of doors, I think, and I it's gotten so much better and easier, and there's even a more accessible version of it for folks who aren't like super familiar with all the other Adobe stuff. I had the advantage of working in those programs for many years, because I would do freelance video and stuff like that when I was doing stand up in Ohio. Um, but yeah, that software, I'm trying to think of other instances where it's used that's public. I know for sure, like Cartoon President, the Stephen Colbert uh animation production with Trump,
Yeah.
that's character animator.
Wow.
And that all their projects are done with character animator because they have such a quick turnaround.
Mhm.
So they use that to pose the figures and stuff instead of sending it off to be drawn or whatever.
Yeah.
But it definitely, I'm curious to see what, because I'm 43 and I picked it up when I was in my late 30s. So what's it going to look like when somebody who was like 20 has it figured out and starts
Yeah.
doing more stuff with it, you know 5 years from now? So I think that kind of stuff is really fun to think about, what creative people and comedians are going to end up doing with it now that it's just a little more user friendly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because just
I
even that the mouth sync thing that you mentioned, that the first time I tried to learn to do that frame by frame made me stop animating anything. I
yeah.
was like, I'm not dealing with this. This is
Yeah,
too much.
it wasn't worth it. The during the pandemic, and speaking of that Colbert cartoon president thing, they had this show that was a news show. I don't know if you remember it, but they had a news show that was a spinoff of the Late Show
Oh
Colbert.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't.
tuning out the news.
Yeah, tuning out the news.
Uh-huh.
I submitted a packet for them, and I could not
Yeah.
have gotten a no faster. It was just like it was. I remember that's one of the very few packets I've ever submitted, but they were like, we're not taking this at all.
Well, I know people who have written for it. I submitted to write for it, and I got to a second round, but then got a no. And then I submitted to animate for it. Um, but I heard on many counts that no matter what position you were in on that show, it was not fun to work
Oh
on.
God.
So maybe you dodged a bullet.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. So you started stand up in Ohio. Is that where you're from? Is
Uh-huh.
that what sparked you to was it is it because Ohio there's nothing there?
Yeah, I was like, I need to go somewhere there's a blank slate. No, I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania,
Okay.
which is, it's a dying steel town.
Mhm.
I joined the military right out of high school. I joined the Coast Guard and ended up stationed in Cleveland because it's the Great Lakes District headquarters are
Okay.
there. And I worked in like personnel, worked in a federal building, and finished out my enlistment there and had started going to school and just stayed when I got out because it was one of those things like, do I go back to Allentown,
Mm.
the dying steel town, or do I stay in Cleveland, the once dying steel town that is now on its way back up? And I had started comedy at the end of my enlistment. So I was already like making a little bit of headway in making friends in the scene and stuff like that in Cleveland. And I was like, you know what? I'm happy here. I'm just gonna hang. And then I think like 6 more years went by, finished my college degree, and then went off to New York. And I've
Mm.
been in New York for like 13 years now. Yeah, something like that.
New York is obviously it is the place to do stand up and then we have Chicago and LA. I wonder if it will ever not be a good place for somebody even young or even older, just anyone starting out rather to get in there and do and tell jokes because there's a plethora of places, but I feel as an outsider, I've never seen people do stand up there, but I feel as an outsider, either you're the biggest person working MSG or you're somebody who is barking and trying to get in at the cellar.
Yeah, I think the big thing that people don't realize until they get here, and I've never lived in LA, so I can't really compare it. Um, but New York's comedy scene, even when I got here, it was huge,
Hmm.
and it's only gotten bigger. And it was crazy. Like after I started going out again after lockdown stuff, because a lot of people started stand up, a lot of young people started stand up during the pandemic
Yeah.
on Zoom because it was like comfortable and they could try it out. And you know, so I came kind of out of hibernation and I was like, oh my God, everyone's 23 and there are like 5 times as many of them.
Yeah.
And to speak to the contrast of like doing well or not doing well, it's I would say it's a little bit like that, but there's also a lot more room in the that middle ground than you would think because there's this place. It's like if you want to get up a lot and be around other people that are really into doing this and taking it seriously, then this is gonna be the place to be as long as you have that mass of people.
Right. Okay.
And I've been up and down with things where it was like coming in, starting open mics again when I was 10 years into comedy, just to meet people and make friends and figure out the lay of the land, working up to, doing the cellar. And then the seller just stopped booking me after the pandemic. And then it's like, okay, well, I guess I got to figure out where else to go. and there are other places to go, which is the great thing about New York. It's like, okay, fine, well, I'll do, these shows at Union Hall, or now this. There's a lot of little small pop-up clubs that
Mm.
have turned into something here, like the Highline Comedy Club and like Sesh Comedy, and it's things that take place in small spaces on this kind of smaller scale, but New York has the volume of audience to support that. You can, in Cleveland, if you're getting 20 people out to a show, it's going to be that same 20 people, like, pretty often.
Yeah.
In New York, you can get, 5-10 people to a show, and then the next, they're able to spread that out. So you'll still get more reps in. There's still more people doing it. It's still just a cool backdrop. And then there's always that thing where, the highest rungs feel a little more accessible, and you can go do a show where all of a sudden, like, Ray Romano walks in,
Right.
like stuff like that, where you're among all those things that are like just seemed inaccessible if you're sitting in your bedroom in Ohio.
Right.
I don't know, for younger comics, I don't know what, you know, how they view those things, but or what's important to them at this point, because I feel like social media has changed the game so much. You can see
Yeah.
exactly how popular you are.
Yeah.
But for me, wanting to come to New York and being in New York was always a matter of like, let me be around people that are serious about making stuff like this and being funny and, getting better. And let me be around people who make me want to get better and are so good at it that they make me want to quit,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know?
That's a good place to put it. Just that drive, and I think that comes different for everybody. Hey, maybe there are the comedian. I'm not a huge fan of looking at social media and cutting up your bits and everything and having to make it fit. But that's what we have to do now in order to sell ourselves more or less. And then that's when the crowd work stuff came along because you don't want to ruin everything.
Right.
I yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing to get by, and without the bigger cities, we would just have like smaller places in Cleveland and I'm in Atlanta, so we'll have
Oh,
like
okay.
the 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 places here, and that would kind of show you everything that is possible with comedy. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine being a stand-up like you and then being in New York and having 10 different people every single night, or 20 different people, or 40 different people, because that opens up a wealth of possibility. Where I would be comfortable with the Cleveland stuff, which is, says nothing about me. But like having that wealth of possibility of people coming in and you being able to try out a different word on a joke and that killing, and then trying out something else and then that killing, that must be so that must just like be so wish fulfilling, because you have so many different opportunities to, as you say, be at the different places that aren't just the cellar, for the people who don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. The repetitions, still, no matter how you do it, even with the slideshow stuff, I found it's always the same. It's repetition and, you know, paying attention to how you're writing and what you're doing. And the more you can, because I've gotten lazy as I've gotten older, to be honest, as far as that, like, going out every night and getting as many spots as I can goes. But when I hit these waves where I'm booked a lot, because that's kind of just how it falls, it seems,
Mhm.
where it'll be like 2-3 weeks where I just have spot after spot, and it feels like it did before. And I'm like, at the end of a run like that, I'm like, I've gotten stuff polished, I'm super confident, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's zero substitution for the repetition part of it, no matter how long you've been doing it. I think anybody would tell you that. And New York is the place to have that repetition. I'm sure there are, I'm sure Chicago probably has a lot of opportunities,
Right.
and LA if you can get around fast enough. But New York, everything's like, I mean, like there's when I live in a neighborhood called Ridgewood,
Mm,
and it was not as like developed when I got here, but then I was saying the last like 3 years, so much stuff started popping up, and then Bushwick is the next neighborhood over, and if I just wanted to do comedy shows or go to shows without leaving my neighborhood, maybe two,
mhm.
three stops on the train, I could fill every night in this, they'd be little bar shows, but still, it's like it's still wild to me. It's and how it's even gotten bigger.
Yeah. Do you eat at your bar shows? Do you eat before a show, after a show? What's your ritual?
I'm a post show eater.
Okay.
Um, pre-show, I get like if I eat something, I tend to like get tired. Um, or I'm like my nerves are just not there. So I'll eat like a protein bar or something before a show, but typically the second I step off stage, I'm like ravenously hungry.
Yeah, you're burning a lot of calories making jokes. Like,
Yeah.
truly, like it's a you reps. We use the word reps with comedians because it's a thing. It's working out. It's doing the whole thing. Whenever you kill, does that like do you allow yourself? Because I assume you're touring as well. Do you allow yourself to just engorge on a bunch of stuff? I always hear that about comedians is like they just eat because it's late at night and it's always the shittiest food.
Yeah. And on the road, that's another tricky thing is like finding stuff that's reasonable to eat. And when I was younger, I was drinking too, so it was just like, yeah, like what's open after this set? Like what let's go get some like weird local sandwich and a pint of beer at like 11:30, but right before the kitchen closes.
Right.
But now, not I mean, a lot of my road stuff lately is just I've been like opening for Todd Barry,
Mhm.
and we're both like boring old guys at this point. So it's like we'll try and find a restaurant that's open late, but it's like, you're getting like bar appetizers or something. I I mean, I've even like there's been times when I've toured for my own shows and I'm traveling and I have like a rental car,
Mhm.
and I started going to like Whole Foods or something or Trader Joe's before the run because I like stock up for stuff to put in the hotel. Because
Yeah.
in New York, you're so spoiled with post show food,
Mhm.
or and any major city really. But then it's like you get to Syracuse, New York, and there's like one if you want food, you're gonna eat like chicken fingers or pizza
Yeah.
at midnight, and that just doesn't. I'm not into I'm not into sleeping on that kind of full belly at this point in my life. But when I was younger, it was great. I was,
Oh yeah.
of course.
Yeah. I totally get it. I'm 32 and or I'll be 32 in a couple of weeks and it's just like I can't imagine eating that heavy of food at like midnight, just
No, it'll sneak up on you too.
yeah.
You'll one day you'll think you can do it again, and then you'll do it again, and you'll be like, "What the fuck was I thinking?"
What's it like opening up for Todd Berry? Is he a good guy to hang out with? I know
Yeah,
you guys are both older gentlemen and have your own set schedules at some point, but what's it like being with him?
it's fun. Because we have similar tastes in like music and stuff like that, and places we want to go, and so that part of it's nice. Like,
Mm.
it's it's not a like find a cool party spot after the show kind of vibe. It's like if there's a spot close to the venue that's quiet and dark, go there after the show for like one or two drinks. And then the next morning, like find the fanciest coffee shop in the town we're in and go there and then hit the road again.
Yeah.
But it's fun because Todd has a really good audience. And, he was probably, I mean, our age difference is pretty big, but I won't tell him this, but he was one of my comedy heroes. So then getting to open for him has been it's I've been doing it off here and there for a couple years. Um, when it suits, it's usually like East Coast dates or
Yeah.
whatever. But it's nice. It's a fun hang. We would hang anyway. Like we hang in New York just on off nights and stuff too. So it's a fun arrangement.
Yeah, Todd's a good guy. I don't know him personally, and I will tell him this. I enjoy him as a comedian. What do you get at a coffee shop? Is it black coffee with a blueberry muffin? Because that's what I want.
I mean, I'll do an Olay and then sometimes a muffin. I'll go blueberry muffin, maybe a bran muffin. Depends on what the breakfast options are.
Do
I'm
you
a
like a
breakfast
sandwich?
guy. I go, yeah, I like full breakfast if I can
Okay.
get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love a great breakfast. I also, but I'll eat anything. I work out a lot, so to replace the 2,000 calories I burn, I have to eat
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, I'll eat anything, truly. All right. Well, Jim, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. This has been lovely. You're a very funny comedian, and I'm excited for people to watch with pictures and listen to without pictures.
Thanks, Chad.
They're one and the same, and yeah, you're very good at what you do, and keep going because you're a very funny guy.
Thanks, Chad.
Of course.
You keep
All
it
right.
up too.
I
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Later.
Yeah.